Welcome everyone. We are here with a new episode. This week we have Coach Esther here is one of my co-worker coaches in Pearland Aquatics. Coach Esther, you want to say hi to everyone?
Yes, hi. Like he said, I work with him in Pearland Aquatics. I currently coach 11, 12, and 13-year-olds about middle aged, intermediate level. So, yeah.
So, Coach Esther, we are the newer coaches on
Mhm.
staff. So, how do you feel transition from being a swimmer to become a coach?
Well, so I swam up until 16, and I'm 22 now, so I've coached for about 6 years. And at first, it was really weird because like looking at it from the swimmer's point of view, you think everything is easy, like just move your arm this way or just do this. So putting everything into like the kids' language was probably what was like difficult. And then now coaching with everyone that I used to swim under, it's also really different. But what about you?
Well, I have a longer experience than you. I've been coaching with Peak for 8 years now. This is my ninth season.
Mhm.
Um, I come from a high level swimming competitive, so that's my one of my benefit and advantage of that. But transition from being a swimmer to a coach is a whole different side of thing for the sport, right?
Mhm.
Because, like you said, you have to speak the kids' language. We
Yeah.
can't use our more experienced word vocab for the kids. We can't just tell them, all right, bend your elbow high, elbow, and stuff like that. You have to
Yeah.
do more demonstrate and use more basic phrase for them to understand, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, other than that, what was the challenge that you have when you just started coaching?
I think honestly, people taking me as a coach, because a lot of times like they would think I'm just kind of like an older swimmer, just kind of teaching the kids. But after I became more seasoned and I became more confident in what I was teaching. So whether it was like teaching drills, things like that, the more you begin to put out the knowledge, people start to trust you as a coach more. So that includes the swimmers and then the parents as well. And so I think that helped my confidence because at first that was like, even now I still struggle with that, but that helped my confidence over time.
Yes, because at the beginning, for sure, there's a lot of doubt, a lot of like questioning
Mm-hmm.
from parents overall, right? Because they pay the money, they want their kid to be success and all of that. So they do really questioning, do we know what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Because of first of all, like our ethnic background and like how we perform in front of everyone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, like 9 years ago, my English was nowhere near what I have nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there was a lot of questioning around, but then I just had to like show what I know and how I perform with the kids, and the kids' performance like is my
Spoke for
result, right?
himself.
Yes, spoke for
Yeah,
himself. Yes.
yeah, exactly.
So you've been coaching for a few years now. So what was your you know achievement or your favorite moments for the past few years?
Mhm. Well, one, I love seeing the kids transform from when like they first start and then going into accomplishing their first event. Like let's say it's like a 50, even if it's a 50 free or 500 free, 200 IM for the first time. Then seeing their confidence grow. So I feel like that's been really nice. I've got to work under really cool coaches. And then I was able to go to ASCA, that conference in Vegas, American Swim Coaches Association. And that was honestly a big point for me where I really enjoyed. And then coaching overseas, I got to do a clinic in Uganda, where my
Mm-hmm.
family's from. So I'd say like watching kids get transformed like throughout a season, the ASCA conference, and then going to Uganda, those were probably my three biggest. But I've learned so much through my team here. Because, like, when I started, I would work under every coach on our staff. And so it was really cool to see how everyone did different ages, how some people taught the same age, but they did different styles, and how like everyone had the same goal though, ultimately for the team. But it was so I feel like I give a lot of credit to like the coaches, like you guys that I shadowed under. And then when I went to like ASCA, I got to like I had a foundation for what was being taught because if I had gone first, I would have not known. So it was helpful to see like to put it all together. But yeah, for what about you?
Well, so I had the same experience, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
first year, I didn't really have a designated group for myself.
Yeah.
I worked with every single group from youngest to the oldest group.
Mm-hmm.
See where I feel more comfortable and more fit in, and what would be my experience and knowledge gonna fit them the most.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, after that, I just stuck with mostly 9 to 12, sometimes 13, 14.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the idea of we all work to one same goal,
Yeah.
and every kid in the team could learn from any coaches from the
Mm-hmm.
team, and the other way around
Yeah.
is so much better, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's say if any of the coaches need a sub to come in, any coaches can be comfortable and hey, I'm up and I'm ready to run this group without any question because everyone on the same page. We run the same drill top to bottom. We build a foundation for the kids, and then we going up, right? That's really
Exactly.
nice. And
Yeah.
then so after ASCA, you feels like you are more, you know, well knowledge and learn a
Yeah.
lot more. So what's the ASCA before your Uganda trip?
It was like 2 months afterwards.
Oh.
I applied for a 30 under 30 scholarship. And I actually didn't really know what to expect. At Ask, I thought it was going to be like a tiny little group of coaches talking about swim coaching. But I was awarded a scholarship, and so I went to Uganda that summer. But when I got back, then I had the ASCA conference, and so just seeing a lot of coaches from around the world was so eye opening because I didn't know that this was actually, I didn't realize how big this field was, and it just made me really excited because I was like, there are people around the world that like are passionate about the things I'm passionate about. So I'd go to school, talk to friends, and like I'm like, oh, I'm a swim coach. They're like, what do you do though? And I'm just like, so it was nice to like learn from coaches that have taken swimmers to like NCAA or the Olympics, or coaches that have teams that are the highest in the country, highest levels in the country. And I definitely feel like I learned a lot, not just about swimming, like coaching, like teaching kids swim. It was more about like the swimmer development as a person. They like a lot of talks about like mental health and well-being outside of the pool, team aspects, because a lot of the swimming, while it's an individual sport, it is also a team sport, which that is something that a lot of the coaches did talk about. And then of course the technique, they went really in depth with the technique, which was really cool. And so bringing it back and learning how to like tell the kids that are maybe like intermediate beginner level was that was a little hard, but it was also really like exciting. It like lit a fire under me.
Yeah, that's why working with like the entire team is just so much better because
Yeah.
you don't know everything about the sport. Like for
Yeah.
me, I'm always confident that all right, I can fix the breaststroke kick, I can fix the fly, but when it hits to like diving and stuff like that, I will
Mm-hmm.
need like other coaches on the team to help me out because of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like
Yeah.
flip turret. So it's always great, you know? And then
Yeah.
like let's say dry land and other stuff, right? We
Yeah.
need someone like with more knowledge and
Andre.
certification on that.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, ask, did you feel like use those knowledge to the kids yet, or there's still a lot more to explore?
I tried, like, I had a whole notebook of notes, and like, it was 4 days of a lot of information.
Uh,
And so I tried, like, I've incorporated the things I've learned, but of course, there's still a lot to learn. And the cool thing is, they hold it every year. Then we have like the golf clinic, which I actually wanted you to speak on that too, like your first experience. And I see why they have all these clinics all the time, bringing in
right.
different speakers
Yes.
because it's like a never ending well, like of not like it's really cool. And so you might like a coach might give one example and you try it with your swimmers, but it might not work.
Right.
So then someone else might come and say something, and you're like, oh, let me try that, and then it works. So I've kind of used it that way. But like, what was your first experience at a clinic?
Right. I didn't have a chance to go to the ASCA because I was prepping for my weddings. But yes, every year we have Gulf Coaches Cleaning, right? Which just for our little side of Houston area, we have what almost like 100 teams,
Yeah.
like all different size and spread out all throughout. So like once every year we met up together, right? Like different speakers with different topics, variety for every year. So every time we roll in, yes, oh, there's new drills, right? Or someone with a different version of the drills that we're using.
Yeah.
Just like a simple open turn, right? Someone cut a little bit here, but it make way more sense. So it's nice. And yes, like those continuous learning experience is a lot helpful for new coaches and young coaches like us.
Exactly.
Because one year I have a chance to talk with CG, the guys that do uh, athlete bios and help them set up their personal brand and all of that.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite topic and like hook me up into that. So again, I can help out other swimmer, especially in Vietnam and maybe Uganda, where swimming is not the mainstream sport, right? They need a little bit more help on that. We're gonna go more into swimming culture and environment in other countries later. But the Gulf swimming always nice because we see a lot of people. Like last year we have Abby Liu. Like it's great to talk to her, right? Sharing my swimming experience and here she said that wow, it's crazy in how extreme it is in Vietnam compared to like how she started. And like she win like Asia and all of that, and now she head coach of a women team of USA Swimming going to work in Budapest in and all of that, right? It's crazy, it's nice. And all of the other people, all of the head coach, all of the more experienced coaches from other team, and like how sometimes one team they struggle and then they bounce back and stuff like that, and like all of the other stories. So always nice to see people like that in all the places.
So like for you, you grew up in Vietnam, you swim in Vietnam. How has, I know we're going to go into this, but how has the coaching and the swimming, the shock, how was all of that transition for you?
So for me back then, it was a lot more personal.
Yeah.
The idea of alright, so that swimmer is my swimmer, that swimmer is your swimmer, and there are a inner competitive just between the coaches because the swimmer performance related directly with the coach's benefit. So there are, we don't say much, but like a little beef between the coaches. So it was, yes, nice to have competition
to push
motivate you,
yourself.
yes, but then it's not a
It's
really
not
healthy environment, right? Meanwhile, here, right, like we said, we work with kids that way, like in the middle age is what we call, right? But then the coaches, like the younger group, can always talk to us to say, all right, what are you guys doing? What my kids need to be able to do so they can go to your group, and we do the same thing, right? With the 13 and 14, all right, so what are you guys doing in a daily basis that our kid need to be able to fit in there for the smoother transition? Like the communication is key, yes, and we do all of that and everyone on the same page, which is nice. So that's the biggest thing. And so when I first started, I was for sure a little harsh, a little extreme. But 2 season, 3 season in, I figured it out, right? It's not about me. It's not about how my kids perform. It's not my kids. It's the team athlete, right? Everyone built it up all together. And again, we have to put the swimmer in the center. Because when I was in Vietnam, I have the talk with some people. and the triangle of the coaches, the swimmer, and the parents need to
Mm-hmm.
balance out because everyone have problems.
Mm.
I always say that all right, the kids have issues in a day that have to deal with right school and other things.
Yeah.
Parents are the one that pay the tuition and yes they want the result. But then the coaches they only have so much from the kids after their school day to come to the
Yeah.
practice and then the coach have to push them to achieve that parent's goal.
It's like they take the swimmer's goal out of it
Right.
almost.
So
Yeah.
all that 3 points, yes, if it come together, that's
Mm-hmm.
always great, but not all the time that everyone can be on the same page
Yeah.
between those three.
And that makes it difficult.
Yes, but now I always all right, put the kids up front, do the workout setup for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
the goal, the kid need to understand what it is and what is their goal for long term, short term, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel like now I see the sport as a more of an entertainment and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy
Yeah.
the environment more than just a day-to-day job like I did back in the day.
Because you had to, you were like making, you did income for your family.
Yes, in my
Yeah.
family back then, I was one of the main source of income, right? So my dad, my
Mm-hmm.
mom, and then I already make money when I'm 10
Yeah.
because in Vietnam we get paid to go to practice. If we miss practice, they're gonna stretch that day off. So that
Mm-hmm.
is your salary for the month. And then if you go to swim meet, you got a medal. That's a little bit more change in there for you. So sometimes I go to a swim meet. I swim 7 events in the weekends. I mean, I make my family meals for the whole month. You
Mm.
know.
Wow.
And so that wise, back then the competitive side of thing was a lot more extreme in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I think right now it's still the same way,
Mm-hmm.
and is not right because
Yeah.
you don't try to you don't have a motivation to improve yourself because
Yeah.
at some point you just win,
And then you stay there because you're getting money.
right, and you don't need to go further because if you want to step up to the next level which is international success
Mm-hmm.
is a big gap.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you just be there and don't lose to the second kid, you good.
You're good. So you don't have to like strive for anything new.
Right, you
Essentially.
feels like all right. I need to protect my
Your
spot.
spot.
It's
Okay.
more like that. Then all
Mm-hmm.
right, how do I swim better at the international meet or going to Olympics or World Cup or whatnot?
Wow. Okay, so like, is that why a lot of people might not go on to that
A
in
lot, right?
Vietnam?
So parents, right? When they see
Yeah.
that, when they see the money's on the line, they're gonna decide. All right, so I'm gonna push my kids, but then my kids doesn't make the cut. I'm gonna pull out.
Mm. It's like okay, just keep
So,
competing with
right,
it.
so 12, 13, a lot of kids pull out because
Okay.
not everyone get paid.
Yeah.
The set amount of slots that
Mm-hmm.
available is limited. It
Yeah.
come top to
It's
bottom.
paid. Yeah.
Right, so each kid's gonna be scaled by 3 events: a
Mm.
freestyle event, an IM event, and a backstroke event.
Okay.
So combine of those three, if you make A time,
Mm-hmm.
you got paid a little bit of money. If you have all of that in double A, you make a little bit
A
more,
bit
and
more.
triple A a little bit more, and so on.
Yeah.
So the parents, yes, they're gonna want to commit. They're gonna put their kid into practice day on every day,
Mm-hmm.
but for what?
Yeah.
Right? Like for the salary
Mm-hmm.
or for the kids' enjoyment and improvement.
That makes it great.
Right? It doesn't align. And then there are ugly sins at the meet, right? Because you go to the meet, you race, yes, but there's money on the line. What happened? Oh, you lose the race. your parents upset, and
Yeah.
then might, some hands on neck and stuff like that.
Really.
Yes,
I
because
didn't know
again,
that.
money on the line.
Yeah, it's not just a
And it's
episode
not
thing.
it's not a small amount of money. Depends on the
Yeah.
meat. If you go to like big city meat or national meat level, I mean, you can feed your family for a whole month.
On one kid's race.
Yes, for like you go to the meet, you go 7 events, 3 relays, which is 10 event total in 4 days, and
Yeah.
you bring home a chunk of cash. It's
Mhm.
nice, but
Wow.
then like at some point you just don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, because it's like a never-ending cycle.
Right, like yeah, you there for the practice, but then all right, what am I need to improve? I don't look into that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yes, I was at the top for a while for the children fly, but
Mhm.
then
You got.
I just can't go further and like enjoy and stuff like that into me. But now my coaching philosophy, I never yell at the kids at me
That's a good one.
because I think like all right, we had them in practice, right? We will try to push them, fix them in practice. If it doesn't work out yet in practice, what one more like
What is it gonna
madness
do?
right at the
Yeah.
meet gonna have? Let them
Yeah.
go out there and enjoy the moment. They don't need more pressure. Their parents already probably pressure them enough on the way to the pool for the meet.
Yeah.
Why bother? Let them get out there,
Exactly.
enjoy their time. That's probably better.
Yeah, because some of them come into the meets and they're already, freaking out. And we're like,
Right,
you've done this in practice. You can do it. And encouraging them and reminding them have fun with it.
right.
You
Because
can have fun.
how many time have you heard parents say, "All right, I don't want my kids to compete. They're not ready."
Yeah, they're not gonna be the first one to touch the wall. We're like, that's not
Right,
what it's about. Like, and if the parent thinks that way, then the kid thinks that way, and it brings down their. A lot of them, that's why they don't want to push themselves at practice too.
right. So then,
So
what's your experience in Uganda? What did you do over there?
yeah, so in Uganda, it was kind of the polar opposite of you, because I swam here, and so I had this view, and America's one of the best countries in swimming. So when I went there, I just wanted to see like one, how was the swimming world there, and they're actually progressing. They like to look at countries like America and European countries, Australia, and see what are they doing well. We need to try that as well. So when I went there, I visited one team, and they're in the center of Kampala, which is the capital, and they built a pool. It was more of like a beginner group practice that I got to work at. I only was able to go once, but they've called me back, and I really want to go and visit other teams too. But at first, like the first 30 minutes, I observed how the coaches were working with them, and they did the same idea with the lanes and everything, but it was so crowded. And I kind of got to talk to the coaches, like, so what are y'all focusing on today? And I could tell they're still lacking in swim coach education on how to get the kids where they need to get. And I know that, like, they have sent some coaches around the world because they want, like, to world clinics and things like that. But they said they're lacking like women coaches and everything. But the shock was, one, this is different, but seeing a lot of people that do look like me in the water was really empowering. Because as you know, here, like, not many African Americans or black swim, so it was really cool to see that. But the drills they were teaching were very different, and I stepped in and said, you know what, I'm gonna take it from here. So I ended up teaching them like surf drill and freestyle and backstroke, 181, finishing off. Like, there were a lot of, you could tell the coaches were trying to show them things, but they didn't know how, like, all the steps to get there. And then I didn't get to see a competition. Next time I go, I am going to see a competition, because they call them galas. And so,
Galas.
yeah, instead
It's
of
not like it's
meets,
like a whole like
instead of
fun
meets,
day
it
that
sounds like
event.
it's fun, and it's a big deal. Like, I think they bring cameras, everyone, like, I think they videotape it and things like that too. And so, and they line the swimmers up intense, like, it's a big thing. So because they really want to work to get, they want to move the country up. And so, like, they had a few swimmers go to the Olympics. They have some going to like Rwanda, which is right below Kigali, which is and then African swimming competitions, like all of Africa. And so Uganda is actually not doing poorly in swimming. They're making progress, but it's I think if we were to compare it, it'd be where America started ages ago. And so that's it's like they're really trying. So it's like one thing it's just lacking, I think, is a lot of like the education and how to coach the swimmers. Because yeah, the drills were.
That's one of my experience that different. When I first moved over here,
Mm-hmm.
this first swim meet,
Were
that's
you
my
like?
that's my first time ever that I
Yeah.
see a flyover and chase start.
Oh, y'all don't do that
No, in
there.
Vietnam, town finals or
Yeah.
prelim finals, everybody get out to the block, line up. They're gonna call your name. You're gonna
Every
like every single
time,
time, and you're gonna raise your arm, or you're gonna just like bow, like pretty
no
much
matter
say
the
hi to.
heat.
No, like eight and
Oh my
under to national
gosh.
meet, prelims or finals.
Oh
Because
wow.
yes,
Okay.
you're gonna line up at your heat in the weight room. You're gonna walk out together, line up, and then I'm also gonna
Wow.
like call your name. You're gonna raise up. It's like a big
It's
deal,
like a
right?
high class
Right,
thing.
right. But then again, back then it's nice and all. But as
Yeah.
you being in the sport for 10 years, like I did back then,
Yeah.
this get a
It
little
gets
old.
old.
Right,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Let
I'm
me just
there. Right,
swim.
I'm there for three events and some meet.
Yeah.
Like those where we have 20 or 200 free and stuff like that. We sit
Yeah.
there for all the kids announcing name and stuff like that.
Over
For young
and
kids,
over
yes,
and over.
it's huge. It's a big deal
Mm-hmm.
for them. But for the more experience,
You're
we
like,
just like laying there and wait.
does it sometimes like build up the anxiety too for the race? You kind of
Uh,
just like,
for some
yeah,
kids, yes. For me, no. Because
no.
back in the day, I'm just like, all right, music in my hand. I'm just laying there.
Ah, that's because you have to wait for all 8
Yes, and
lanes
most of the time, just sit there and visualize my
your race.
race in my
Yeah, you
head.
plan everything.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but for little kids, for sure, the excitement and all that. That's one thing I see. In Vietnam, the kids roll to the pool. I would say 99% of them look excited.
That's
They
awesome.
want to be there.
That's another thing I noticed there too in
Yes,
Uganda. They just lit up when they
yes,
got. It's like they have the chance
right.
because it's a privilege.
Yes, they get to the pool and they're just so excited. And then
Yeah.
like they see me there
Mhm.
as like a random guy because I get over
Yes.
there. I coach with
Old school.
my own coach.
Yeah,
He
that's
he coaching
awesome.
a young group of 11 and 12 as well. So I could get in. I have him like two or three practice, and they
Mhm.
see me and they get so excited. I'm
That's
just like a new toy. So like
yeah.
they try to talk to me in English and all of that, and like I
Yeah.
try to coach them, but then like my swimming vocabulary in Vietnam is
It's
chopped.
oh they because
I
there's
don't know the term over there anymore. I only know the coaching
terms
term in
here.
English. Yes. So it was a little bit of a struggle, but the kids is really excited every time they
Yeah.
get to the pool, so that's nice.
Yeah, like a lot of them. I actually also wondered, like, swimming is definitely more privileged. In Uganda, and it's mostly the families that have more money. And so one of my biggest goals and dreams would be to like go to the rural areas or the places where the kids can have talent, but they're not given the chance. And ultimately to bring them, teach them how to swim and see how they do. Cause like that's one thing that does break my heart. It's like in like a third world country like Uganda, you have to be parents might be doctors or lawyers and they have the extra money to take their kid to swim every month because it's not even here it's just more accessible because there are more teams there are not as many teams and so I don't know about Vietnam, but that's one thing I'd like to change in giving kids from all backgrounds, um, but they have to
Well,
fund the pools too so
in Vietnam you get paid.
yeah,
Not
they get
everyone get
paid.
paid,
Not
but
everyone.
it do be nice to first you don't have to pay to go to swim.
Yeah,
You don't have to
that is a
pay
nice thing.
to you
Yeah,
don't have to pay to go to the swim meet.
that's the nice
Right?
thing.
Like in the
It's the
US,
opposite. It's like Uganda in the U.S.
right, like in the US, what, like $12 an event?
Per
If you miss it or if you get
it's
DQ,
like a
that money
waste.
down the drain, right? In
Exactly.
Vietnam is, like the coaches just sign you up, you go, like, don't worry. I don't think my parents even pay.
Mhm.
And then you got a chunk of change after the day, and
Yes.
like you go to the podium, every meet have podium. You know, you go to the podium, you get a little medal,
Yeah.
and then a little envelope. You go, and then the envelope doesn't have no money in there. Just have your
Yeah.
name on it, and then you hold that envelope. You go into the office.
And then you get your
You sign,
money.
yeah. You literally sign, and they give you cash, and then you walk
Even when
out.
you're like 10.
Oh yeah,
That's pretty.
yeah. So
Wow.
I mean, again, and then a lot of time, right? Like I got medals, but then I had to cool down for the next event and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. So I just pull a younger kids to the side. Hey, go up to the podium, get that medal for me, and come back. You know, the kids in the team, like little kids, they excited.
Yeah.
Some of them they don't get a chance to get on the
So you don't
podium,
get
right?
that, yeah.
Because here in the US we have what ribbon and stuff like that for
Mm-hmm.
fourth to 8 or 10, depends on the meet.
Yeah.
Over there, you 1, 2, 3, you done. If
You're
you fourth,
done.
you don't get onto the
You
podium.
don't get
You don't
it.
have anything. So I pull some kid to the side, get them, I get up there, they get a medal, they bring it back to me, the envelope, and then
And then
I
you
go
go
cash
back.
it in at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Mm.
But
Wow.
yeah, but the parents sometimes because of that they do get really extremes,
Yeah.
and there's some bad stuff happen later on. I don't think I will say it
It's
here,
not,
but
yeah.
yeah, it's a lot more stuff going on between the coaches and the swimmer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's why I feel it's way better over here. And then when I moved over,
Yeah.
I was started like my part-time job 10 years ago as a lifeguard, and I sit
Mm-hmm.
on deck and I watch the swimmers swim, and I look at them and I need to ask the head coach like, hey, can I swim with them? I feel like I can hang with them.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, like, yes, I should, but then he asked me how old I was. I said I'm 20,
Oh.
and his kids in the water back then was high school.
14.
So
Yeah,
right,
it's
so
okay.
apparently yes, I didn't know, right? So he
Yeah.
said no, I'm too old.
Yeah.
One, he didn't
Good
know
luck.
how fast I was. I didn't know how to express myself,
Mm.
or I didn't actually know the path
Mm-hmm.
to get in the
Yeah,
water
because you
because
haven't been.
because
Yeah.
you had to what like sign up USA Swimming, you know,
Mm-hmm.
background, athlete protection, and all of that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I didn't swim, so I sit there for a while, and then I'm like, yeah, I don't think I will swim anymore, but I think I can help some of these kids fix their strokes and other things. Because I sit
Mm-hmm.
there, I listen to their time, I look at their stroke, I'm like, huh, I
Mm.
think I can tell them one thing or two.
Yeah.
So I talk to other coaches and then, make my way into it.
Into it, yeah.
Yeah, and then last summer I have a chance to go back to Vietnam to have
Yeah.
a chance to work with another team, a more
Mm-hmm.
private team, a young team that just built, that not really stuck into the system. They try to go
Okay.
the right path of putting the kids up front and try to work around, put everything for the kids. Try to build a young team with just right now. I believe they have 40 to 50 kids
Okay. That's a
that
good start.
from fresh out of swim lesson program all the
Mm.
way up to you know 8 time swimmer.
Okay. That's a good start.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they have a swim lesson program. So let's talk about swim lesson program. Have you ever
Mm-hmm.
changed to see Uganda swim lesson program?
I did not like. I know that that's one thing they're focusing on is lessons and then master swimming. Pool that I went to, though, they do have their own swim lesson program. They weren't teaching anyone when I was there because it was right after school. But they told me about it and that like the kids they typically get on their team come from it. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I didn't really get to ask many details, but I know that they're trying to bring up that swim lesson program. But I wonder about the education they have in it because lessons is different from teaching competitive. I mean, it leads up to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that specific team had a lessons program, but a lot of the teams don't. So I don't know if they have a lot of private groups that do it, but I think it's help. They said that it's helpful when a team has their own.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the team that I was with last summer,
Mhm.
they have their own swim lesson program. They
Yeah.
have their own water. Um, their lesson program in Vietnam is interesting.
Mm.
They cover they ask you to pay per stroke.
Per stroke?
Per stroke. There are, of course, paid by lessons, paid
Yeah. By
by
each hour.
attendance, paid by
Yeah.
day, and stuff like that. Yes,
Hmm.
but there are also options for paying per stroke.
So it's like you teach my kid how to do fly.
Right.
I will. Wow.
Yes, and
I will
all
love
four stroke is the option.
Yeah.
Right. So back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
1995, when I first
Yeah.
started swimming, my first swim lesson, my mom did pay for me like that
Per
because
stroke.
right,
Wow.
because back then at 3, I didn't want to get in the water. I was
Mm-hmm.
scared of the wave.
Mm.
So I didn't want to get in. So my mom, after that trip, she tossed me back into one of the bigger pool in Zion for one of her friends to teach me how to swim.
Mm.
Um, she tossed me in the big pool with like pool buoy on the
Oh
side,
my
stuff like that.
gosh.
Yes, and I learned in Vietnam we learn breaststroke first.
Okay.
So I learned breaststroke within like 3 days.
At 3.
Yes,
Mm.
and so on. So in totals, I learned all 4 strokes within like 2 months. And my mom did have a benefit from just paying for me per stroke. Or I don't know if it's still good or not, or if she just paid for my lesson per day. Would it be
Yeah.
less or no? So either way. So it depends on the kid, right? Like if your kid is like, really have a natural swimmer instinct,
Yeah,
yeah,
they can learn it, pick up easily.
yeah.
Pay for stroke.
Pay for stroke is a thing. So like imagine we have some kids, some kids in our team, right? How long did it take them to learn
Get
their breaststroke? Right, they're just gonna
It's
have
like a lot of money.
right, like
That's
6 year, right? But then if they pay for stroke, they're gonna
Mhm.
have swim lesson for life,
For
right?
life, exactly, because you
Right,
can always improve on your stroke.
right,
And oh my
right. So
gosh.
like when do you call it complete for to move on to the next stroke
Exactly. Yeah.
and all of
Exactly.
that? So yeah, it fun to see things all around, and like yes, I have advantage of seeing things from both sides of the word,
Yeah.
and now come
Exactly.
back and take a look at it. It's interesting to think back on like how it was and how it like supposed to be and whatnot.
Yeah. Do you wanna take anything back to Vietnam, or what do you want to do for Vietnam swimming now that you have?
Yes, a lot. The first thing I want to express is the parents. First, I
Yeah.
think
Parent education a lot.
right, parents education more because parents, not all of them know how to swim. We know it here, right? But then parents have their own vision of
Yeah, an expectation.
right where their kids want to be, and like nowadays, knowledge is on YouTube.
And you could look up anything.
Right, any
Exactly.
stroke is on YouTube. Any parents can become a coach.
Honestly.
So what I want to what I want to tell the parents is that all right, do you know that the knowledge that you're learning from online sources is that the correct knowledge?
Yeah.
Second of all, is that the skills that your kids need right now?
Yeah.
Because one of the coaches that I work with over there, he said the kids go to swim just like you're playing video games, right? Like if you are a level 1 swimmer,
Yeah.
yes, you might learn skill that is level 7, but you can't learn the skill that are level 100.
Yeah.
Right, you need to have a foundation to build up into that. Right, yes, you can skip 1 or 2 step, 1 or 2 level, but not to the extreme.
Not too extreme.
Right, how many times do I have swimmers that literally cannot swim 100 without stop come and ask me, hey, can you work me into a triathlon swimmer, which is a 3K out in the ocean.
So they can't even do a 50 or something.
Right, and then I asked them, so how often do you swim? He's like, 3 times a week, 30 minutes each. So, which is what, 90 minutes a week?
And they want to swim like a 3K.
Right, and then back when I was swimmer, there always a mindset of, all right, if you want to swim certain event, you need to double that in practice.
Yeah. Oh, that's yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
it
That's
doesn't add up
interesting.
with some of the people goal and vision. And like we were talking a lot about goals here with our kids, right? How many
Mhm.
times do you see a 8 years old, 9 years old put onto their goal sheet? Oh, I want to be a Olympians. I want to get
Mhm.
gold medal in Olympics, right?
Yeah.
We tell them yes, that's good and all of that, but what's your actual goal for
For
this
this
season, right?
season. Yeah.
What can you control?
Yes.
Because dreams and goals and all of that, the high goals,
Mhm.
is great,
Yeah.
but it's for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Right now, this season, what
Like the
can you do?
next 10 weeks, what can we do?
Right.
Yeah.
Can you tighten up your streamline? Can you
Mhm.
get your underwater workout? Can you actually do the clock on the interval and stuff like that?
Yeah.
The basic thing is step by step. That is my biggest pet peeve to the parents.
Okay. So you want
My
to
last
work
month,
on
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yes, because again, the coaches we can only do so much, right? Because we see the kids, what, 3, 4 hours a week,
Mhm.
and then
But
as
what
soon
are
as
they
we
doing?
leave, yeah, as soon as they leave the
What are they
pool,
doing at home? Like, what do the parents show them at home? What do they
right?
do
As
with
soon as we
them?
leave, they leave the pool. What their parents talking to them? The
Mhm.
parents gonna be like, all right, so why are you going so slow today? Type thing.
And we're like, that's not what works. That's not how it works.
Right. So yes,
Mm.
parents' education and goal setting for parents
Mhm.
is one of my biggest idea right now. If
Okay.
I, have a chance to go back to Vietnam next summer, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So, are you
good.
going back to Uganda anytime soon?
I would like to also go back next summer.
Uh,
And I want to visit, like what you were saying, parent education is interesting. For me, I would like to, like I said, make swimming more accessible as a whole. But I want to see their galas first. I want to see how they compete there. I want to see as a country if we were to bring like maybe their top swimmers to compete in America, because I'm sure you saw if you like have one or two really fast swimmers in a team where you like in Vietnam or Uganda and you bring them and they go to like Olympic trials and they're in maybe like one of the lower heats. Because we see our kids on our team or locals, same thing. But I'd like to see their competition level, and then I really would like to help like coaching education as well. Like I would like to bring what I've learned over there, and I also would like to learn from them because swimming is like not deja vu, sorry. Swimming is like a different alien sport there, I feel like, because running and like track and soccer, which they call football there, those are the top two sports. Everyone knows about that because you can start playing soccer when you're 5 and you don't need water to do it. But
right.
there, we're a landlocked country. And even if you go to like Lake Victoria, which is like the largest lake there, it's not somewhere you just get in and, like it's not as accessible. So for those that do have the chance or to give people that don't have the chance, I'd like to help with coaching education and to see how far like I could help take Uganda in getting to the higher level of reaching. But would like to do that through stroke development and coaching education. I believe that every swimmer has potential. It's just tapping into it.
Yes.
Because yeah, we could put all the kids in a fly race, and let's say the 50 fly, and 3 of them are flyers, and they just knock it out of the park, and then the other, let's say 7 of them aren't, and we're like, you know what, you have no talent, bye. But they could be a breaststroker, they probably are. Like Adam Peaty, for example, his coach was at ASCA and talked about how she tried every stroke, but his feet were so naturally breaststroke, and when they did breaststroke, he popped off, and that's the one thing he goes and does every year, and we all know him as one of the world's fastest breaststrokers. And so I believe that every swimmer has some sort of potential. Of course, all of them, like some swimmers might end up becoming coaches, some swimmers might end up going pro, some of them college. But I think it's really like I want to really help swimmers find their potential. That's
Right.
my biggest thing.
Yeah, because like as of right now, we're still talking to our kids here in Penn Aquatic. We tell
Yeah.
them swim to your potential, right?
Yeah.
Don't swim to someone else's speed.
Yeah, like if they're sitting in front of you and they're slowing you down, go around them, or don't compare yourself to someone that's 3 feet taller than you,
Right.
or someone that's been doing the sport for 4 years longer. Like I started. I'm kind of the opposite of you. I started swimming. I learned how to swim when I was like 8 or 9, and then I started competitive when I was like 12. And so when I got in, a lot of the 12-year-olds that were swimming with me were way faster
Yeah, they've
than
been
me.
in the sport for
So
6 years.
6 years. And so I'm like, when I was six, I don't, So like that, I struggled a lot with comparison as a swimmer. A lot. It brought down my confidence a lot. And so as I got to be a coach, as I got older, it got better. But when I got to be a coach, I was like, I want kids that are, when they are swimmers to not compare themselves because it can translate into your life as well.
Right.
And like I want them to know that hey, you're good at this, and let's find your potential and stick to that. So like that
Yes.
stay in your lane
Yes.
mentality.
Yes. It's a natural plus sport, right? A competitive
Yeah,
sport,
like
so there can be
around.
comparison for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with parents. As soon
Yeah, the
as
parents are.
yes, as soon as the parents have all right a moment of
Oh.
why don't you faster than that kid?
Yeah.
Why are you not like that kid?
Yeah.
It's just gonna go downhill.
Or
right?
like, what does that kid do differently in practice? Why don't you do that too? And then they come. The
Right.
kid comes and says, "My mom said I didn't do this," and I'm like, "Why is your mom's not your coach?
Right.
We are your coaches."
Right. And again, the coaches only see the swimmer for
For
a few
10
hours a week, right?
So they don't
And the
know
kids
what-
probably hear that way more at home,
Yeah.
right? Or after the race at the meet and all of that.
And like you said, like people can go on YouTube, and I mean, I know we've had kids that come and say, "Oh, my dad or mom showed me this video on YouTube of breaststroke." No, don't do. Is this how my arms are supposed to
Right.
move? And we're like, is that what we worked on in practice? And so we see that a lot too.
Right,
here.
because those techniques are, let's say, level 30, level 40, right?
Exactly, and we're doing level 5.
Right. So yes, it doesn't
Yeah.
fit for you. You doesn't have a strength for that yet.
Exactly.
You doesn't have the feel for the water for that yet.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a good one.
Right. So do it right first, and then we fix it. Because a lot of the parents, yes, YouTube and all of that, and yes, they have access to water. They
Everything.
pool in the backyard.
Yeah.
They can get their own equipment and all of that, but they don't know the path to get the kids down to the pool and build the strokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest problems, and that's my biggest issues that I want to spread out and let the people know.
Do you want to like help I know you said a lot of the swimmers in Vietnam get to 12, 13 and they quit. Do you want to help that longevity to get them to pro 18, 19?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because for me, I was lucky that is one,
Mhm.
I didn't have to compare myself to other kids.
Yeah.
Because one, back then, 12 and under me, I didn't like swimming at all. I loved badminton back in the day. Someday after school, I would tell my dad, "Dad, I have a stomachache. Can I skip swim practice?" But then an hour and a half later, badminton practice time roll up. "Dad, I'm good. Let's go."
Oh my gosh.
So yes,
Yeah.
12 and 13, I was not into swimming at all. I was
Yeah.
alright, but not that good. But then a few badminton tournament roll around, a few swimming roll around. What happened?
You're like, I'm better at swimming.
No,
Or no?
no, I was not bad at swimming. Swimming gave me more money.
Or like it was, like you were, you're better.
Think about this. You go to a badminton tournament, you win 2 games, you
Yeah,
lost
they
your
give
third
money.
round. You don't get money.
Oh, swimming's like
Swimming,
your
you swim
event.
once. Yes, swimming, you
It's
swim one,
easier
you
to-
get your
well,
money.
kinda. Oh, so that one, yeah, your parents are like.
So I was
You
still
were both
doing the stroke. I mean, I was still doing the
Sports.
sport until I'm 12 before I fully dropped the badminton.
You get more money. In
Yes,
swimming.
and again, stick to swimming for a little bit, and then like within a year or so, I grew out of it. I get way faster, and one good thing is, I had coaches back then tell me that I had to like figure out my strokes, and I did have to do that to fix my
On
stroke.
your own?
they help
They help
me,
you. Okay.
they guide me through it, but I
Yeah.
did have to figure out what stroke that fit me.
Yeah,
Because like you
because
said, like
everyone's
YouTube strokes
different.
and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But back then I have to work around, so one, to not injure myself on the fly,
Yeah.
and two, to get my rhythm into the stroke.
Mm. Yeah.
So one, you have to understand the stroke,
Yes.
and then two, you have to understand what your body needs, and then you build your stroke. Because
Yes.
not everyone is the same, right? Like you
Exactly.
look at, let's say the two, let name three people:
Mm-hmm.
Michael Phelps, Caleb Dressel, Joseph Scully.
Mm-hmm.
All three of them, their stroke are totally different.
They're all
Why?
different.
They are three different body type.
Yep. Because body type makes a huge
Right.
difference.
So they don't swim the same stroke rate. They don't do the same underwater. Their
Mm-hmm.
arms doesn't land the same
They
way.
don't land the
But
same.
they're all so fast.
Yep.
It's
Their
crazy.
own leadership. Yep.
Right. So it's not that, oh, you have to copy someone's stroke.
Yeah.
You just build your stroke. You learn it and then you twist it around and you build it.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of the swimmer that struggle to break through, because yes, you
Yeah.
improving and then you stuck at some point.
Yes.
What do you need? You can't, like, yes, you keep on practicing, you keep on working on it, but then you have to figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, because swimming in itself, it's like science. It's like a physics. It's
Right.
physics because the where your hand, like literally from where your hands enter and free, or how long you glide and breast, then doing the
Right.
strokes in a
Right.
race, the count, and sometimes it's one dolphin kick that can make a difference.
Right. Efficient.
Making the Olympics
Right.
versus.
Or last month
Mm-hmm.
at the Shanghai World Cup, I did a TikTok video, literally break down one turn, an open turn of Leon Marchand and an Italian swimmer, I believe, on the crossover turn.
Yes, that was
The
right.
Italian swimmer touched the wall first, but he do an open turn because I believe he go in on his offside, so he couldn't do his crossover. It was 100 IM because he did the crossover in the 200 IM. He didn't do the crossover. He touched the wall first. But Leon Marchand leave the wall
First.
18 of a second before him.
Because the crossovers is
Just
getting
one
your
little
feet
thing
on
like
the
that.
wall versus like the speed and the amount of time it takes to
Right.
get your feet on the wall
Right.
harder.
Right. Just one of those little things like that
Can
changed the
make
whole
a
race.
difference.
Right.
Wow. And it was only 100 IM too.
Yes.
Oh, so then that's even like, yeah.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, yes, for sure.
That's hard. Yeah.
So, yeah, so I watch those, I break it down, and yes, I talk to the kids in our team, and it's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like those little things, not everyone gonna look at those things, you know. Now that's why when you watch YouTube and stuff like that, you have to like break out what you need, what is the focus and stuff like that. What worked for you, yes,
like
you
timing
learn and then you fix.
and like, especially on fly and breast. Fly and breast are such like distinct strokes with very specific, technical things. First, it's the kick, because we know a lot of kids like some people the kick comes easy to them in breast. Sometimes it doesn't. Fly, the rhythm is different for every. I know you were a flyer, and so that too, like it's different for everyone. And so that like a lot of times we might use a child as an example for a drill, right? But then I like always try to say, but guys, do what works for you. Let's see your gliding pattern, where you pull, because a kick can differentiate for the pull as well. So yeah, that's what I think too. Yeah.
So it's pretty good. So glad you're here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was nice.
Yeah, so it's our first episode here, and hopefully Coach Esther gonna come back to us with more story of her coaching lifestyle and stuff like that, and we're gonna